What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Real Talk, where I'll be reviewing the newest A24 offering, The Front Room. Pretty decent movie, but are there some things I would change in it? Absolutely, but we'll get into that in a little bit. As always, if you care about spoilers, this may not be the best video for you to watch. I'm gonna be spoiling the shit out of this movie. But if you don't really care about spoilers like that, stick around. Let's get into the movie. So, The Front Room is a psychological thriller. My last review actually was a psychological thriller as well. I'll put it up right here so you can click the link and watch it after this. And then I'll put it at the end of the video so you can watch it once this is over. But I reviewed Blink Twice, which was a psychological thriller as well. This movie, however, is a directorial debut by the Eggers brothers, and it is distributed by A24, which a lot of people are familiar with. The three main stars are Brandy, who plays a character named Belinda, Andrew Burnap, who plays a character named Norman, and Catherine Hunter, who plays a character named Solange. The release date of this film was yesterday, September 6th. A couple things I would change, but we'll get into that a little bit. The overall story is, there's a couple who has to take in the estranged stepmother, and then everything goes crazy. So Belinda is an adjunct professor. We first see her teaching to her class, which was really dry. It was a really dry class. I would hate to be a part of that class. And it wasn't her fault. Her students were dry, but she was dry. It was just a dry class. But she's an adjunct professor. They are taking away some of her classes and they're giving them to new hires. So we see her constantly frustrated with her job. Norman, we don't get to see Norman at work that much, but we do know that Norman is an attorney. And both of them together, they're expecting. So Belinda is pregnant. They had a baby boy previously named Wallace, and they lost the child. They don't say much about how they lost the child. Take with that what you will, because that was pretty much all we got from it. They didn't dive deep into it, or it didn't circle back. It was just that. It was that. So, yeah. All in all, throughout this pregnancy though, Belinda is stressed at work. So eventually she quits. She went in, kicked in the door, and she quit. Around the same time, we find out that Norman's father is sick. You get the energy that Norman is kind of estranged from his father, so he don't have the best relationship with him. Gets a call from a number, not even a saved number. He gets a call from his stepmother. This is Solange. This will be the evil character. And he has to explain who this is on the phone because he has a great disdain for her to the point where he didn't even tell Belinda really much about her. She made his life pretty much hell. He would say, she wouldn't let me eat unless I sang "Yes, Jesus Loves Me," and she believed it. If she didn't believe me when I sang it, I wasn't eating. I had to keep doing it until she believed me, until she felt that I really believed it. She used to make him watch VeggieTales an insurmountable amount of times. He pretty much has trauma with VeggieTales. I find that funny as shit because it's just me and my cousin used to watch VeggieTales growing up. I just find that hilarious that who forces their kid to watch VeggieTales? VeggieTales. Not too long after that, Norman's father dies. So then we are taken to his funeral. We see his funeral and we finally get to meet dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. We get to meet his evil stepmother. And the pastor comes over and he's like, "Oh, Norman, your stepmother requested she wants to see you." And he's like, "Yeah, nah, I ain't with it. Let's go." And he's like, "No, please. It's what your father would have wanted." How you know? It's what your father would have wanted. He told you that? He told you that? When he tell you that? The first setup that we see her, she's in this chair and she's draped in all black. She has these three goons behind her. She has three people standing behind her, holding her shoulder and kind of holding her chair or whatever, but it look like goons. And the color grading for this movie is very gloomy and mysterious, kind of, befitting. She has two canes and she's like a spider or some shit like that. She hobbits over to Belinda and Norman. She touches Belinda's belly and she goes, "Oh, praise Jesus, it's a girl." And I'm what? How you know that? That's a very weird way for us to be introduced to somebody. It's a girl. Her voice annoys me. I'll say that. What I feel about Solange is she's very brash. Her voice to me is like nails on a chalkboard. She's very obnoxious. Everything that Norman's father left to Solange, including the house that she sold, everything she has in here, that I am willing to give everything to you all. All I ask is that you allow me to stay with you all in my final years. Now around this time, they broke as hell. They struggling a little bit. And Shorty just quit her job. She was an adjunct, but I'm like, it was still some little piece of change coming in. She quit completely, but she's pregnant, so she shouldn't have been working in the first place. But that's neither here nor there. Long story short, they strapped for cash. So they were like, Norman was like, fuck no, I don't fuck with her. She ain't coming in my house. Not like that, because Norman, you'll find that Norman's actually pretty wimpy in this movie. He actually really, that was my gripe with him. He doesn't really have a backbone in this movie. So he didn't say it like that, but he was really pretty much like, I don't feel comfortable with her coming in our home. But Linda, on the other hand, is like, she's a sweet old lady. Like, we need the money. Another thing is the pastor also says like, oh, it was your father's wishes. He would have won. I'm like, all these goddamn wishes. Are you his fucking genie? Like, he would have wished for you to come meet her. He would have wished for you to let her come in the house. Relax. Like, once Solange is in the house and she's getting settled in and everything, they were going to put her upstairs, but they have a front room that she wants to stay in. I can't get up the stairs, so it will make more sense for me to take this room. While Belinda's going through Solange's things, she finds so many different things in there about her past. She pulls out a certificate. We find that Solange was a part of the United Daughters of the Confederacy. She has a certificate. She's a certified racist. Like, quite literally a certified racist. Why do you still have a certificate of this shit? Crazy. When they try to accommodate her, they say, how's the food? How's the food tasting? She goes, it's salty. How's the ham? It's salty. Like, what? Then they start talking about baby names. Belinda says we want to name the baby Fern. Solange is basically like, that's a terrible name. What was your mother's name? And she says, Gertrude. What was your father's name? Walter. And she looks at her and she leans in and she was like, well, I thought you all were supposed to have more interesting names. Stop fucking playing if I put salt in your food and kill you by hypertension. What the fuck did you just say to me? What did you just say to me? What did you just say to me? Interesting names. That is just the beginning of things that she does is just weird. She starts acting really weird. So she starts shuffling around the house real randomly and shit. And then Belinda catches her and she takes a pillow and she runs into the living room with it. She sits down and she's like trying to pretend like nothing ever happened, like she was reading the Bible. The Bible's upside down. She's like, I'm reading my Bible. But it's upside down. Oh. Yes. She sees she's trying to hide the pillow. She lifts up the pillow. It's piss. Like the pillow is drenched in piss. So Belinda's kind of like, are you okay? Like what happened here? So she just says, can we just keep this between us? So they get to dinner later that night. And I guess when they run out of conversation, Belinda's kind of like, Norman, we got something to tell you. Solange is kind of like, bitch, what the hell are you doing? She's literally stabbing the hell out of this salad. She's like stabbing it. She's like, what the hell are you doing? Solange, why don't you tell him? I don't know what to say. Then Belinda just blurts it out. She looks over at Norman and says, she's incontinent. This pisses her off. Her feeble ass rises from the table, bangs on the table, and she starts like shouting and yelling and shit. And then she shuffles out of the fucking room. This was the start of She completely flipped after that. She was crazy before, but now after this, she got it out for Belinda. She was like, fuck this bitch. And to spite her, the very next day, she soils her bed. I mean, soils it. The bed, the sheets, everything. They find her in there screaming for help. And she has this thing where like, whenever she goes on herself, she's like, help, I made a mess. M-E-S-S mess. M-E-S-S mess. It's irritating. She does it many times throughout the movie and it's very fucking irritating. She did the shit out of spite though. The bed, the sheets, everything's drenched, defecated all over the bed. It was like crazy. So Norman is carrying her to the bathroom. As he is carrying her to the bathroom, we see her head look back and she looks at Belinda who's still in the room and she goes, not too long after that, Belinda, she goes into labor. So around this time, when shit is really starting to rev up, like the tension is really starting to build up, you really get to see how weak Norman really is. Like he has just this very spineless temperament. Also around this time, on the flip side, Belinda is really starting to like rev up her energy. She's starting to like really rebel against everything that Solange is doing because Solange is like, she's starting to lay it on pretty thick with like the antics, with just being over the top, just being very fucking irritating. And Belinda's really like on some like, yo, you really are racist. You're a racist. And Solange just goes into this weird ass little like, I'm a racist, I'm a racist, I'm a racist, I'm a racist, I'm a racist. That sounded more like Jim Carrey in The Grinch. I didn't anticipate it sounding like that. Whole time Norman is being such a bitch. Like he's not saying anything. You're not saying nothing? Bitch made. Norman retreats to work. He's always saying like, oh, but I gotta go to work. I gotta go to work. Oh, I promise after this one big case, I promise you something big can happen after this big case. I can get promoted. I can da 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 da. Meanwhile, Belinda's going through hell. This woman is shitting on herself, pissing on herself, shitting on the walls. It's shit on the walls. It's shit on the walls. Oh, fuck no. There are like picture frames in the house with shit on them that they have to clean off. No fucking way. There's this cross and fish, Jesus fish necklace that Solange wears. It gets to the point where the baby is starting to cry excessively, and the baby will not stop crying unless they bring the necklace close and hover it over the baby. Still constantly taunting Belinda, saying shit like, I'm that baby's mother. I'm the mother here. And they later find out that she secretly paid off the house's mortgage. This is my house. This is my house. She didn't say it like that, but like, that's how I interpret it. Very just, this is my house. I'm an old lady. My house. My baby. Meanwhile, all this is going down. Where the fuck is Norman? At work. Always at work. And we never see that he got that promotion. For all this time you asked was at work, you better have your own practice by this point. So one night while everything is going crazy, Norman comes down with the baby and he asks her with a fucking straight face. He looks at her and says, did you hurt the baby? What? Did you bite the baby? She's like, no, why would you ask me that? He pulls back the blanket and we see a bruise on the baby's arm, like the baby was bitten. Like not like no bug bite, but Belinda points out that it was Solange. He's like, you can tell because there are missing teeth in the bite mark. This part was really kind of like random to me, like she bit the baby. Like he then goes in and confronts Solange about it. But again, he ain't in there like some like, bitch, you bit my baby. He was just very spineless about it. Solange got offended. She calls him closer. She says, come here, come here, come here. Spits all over the side of his face. I'm offended you even asked me anything like that. Throughout that entire night, she is downstairs screaming, why can't I just die? Why can't I just die? Flipping on the bed and shit, doing some like real off the wall shit. When everyone wakes up the next day, we realize that she got a wish. She actually did die. We see her laid out on the bed like. The next scene we see that she is cremated with the cross and Jesus fish necklace. She's cremated with that necklace on, which I'm like, they cremate people with jewelry on? I ain't know that. I could have sworn I'm not in the cremation business. If you are, please feel free to sound off in the comments. I'm quite sure they take everything off. Like they not burning you up with you know, with a bust down rollie. Like they not burning you up with jewelry on. They move completely out of the house. They are in a brand new house. Belinda is going out for a brand new job. We also see that she is now pregnant again. The baby girl that they had before, she's able to move and walk and stuff. Like it's no longer an arm baby. So a couple years probably has passed. We get a flashback where we see that Belinda is the one who actually killed Solange. So back on that same night where she was like, why can't I just die? Belinda went downstairs, grabbed a pillow, put it over her head, and gave her wish. So yeah, then after that, I guess they live happily ever after, and that was the front room. So first off, things that I liked. I liked the fact that shot very well. I think the color grading worked very well for it to be a psychological thriller. It was very gloomy. So shout out to not only the director, but the cinematographer, because I think that was really great. That really helped bring the story along. Catherine Hunter, she gave a great performance. I could not stand her fucking character, but that's one of my college professors, one of my acting professors back in college used to always tell me that's how you can tell when an actor did a really good job. They made you feel something, whether they made you love them, whether they made you hate their character, they made you feel something. So she did something, because I could not stand her character. In fact, I was thinking when Belinda killed her, I was like, I would have been did that. I would have been done that. She would have been gone. I would have first started poisoning her food when she sat up there and told me my shit was salty. Like I said before, I'm taking you out of here via hypertension. But, you know, I guess a pillow to the face is, you know, I guess that's classic as well, but, you know, whatever. I will say that she was one of these standout performances. in this movie. Brandy, as always, Brandy does very well on film. Yeah, I think that was about it. Now I'm gonna get into some of the things that I would have changed. All in all, it left me wanting more. Like, I wanted more. I wanted more. I felt like there was a lot of build up. I feel like we spent a lot of the movie building up to essentially nothing. I feel like the rising action was really starting to build, the tension was really starting to build, but there was no climax. If killing her was supposed to be the climax, it wasn't. It wasn't at all. It was like a sneeze that never got to come out. You know how irritating that is when it's like, but it never comes out? It's like, damn, I went through all this fucking, like, I at least want the release. Like, I didn't get to sneeze. That's how I felt. Like, it felt like all of this built up, like, tension was happening in the movie for there to be no, like, there was no breaking point. And I felt like the stakes weren't really high enough. I felt like all the tormenting that Solange was doing to Belinda was just like, okay, but what are we building up to? What are we building up to? For her to put a pillow over your face? Come on now. Like, we could have done something better than that. The trailer led it to believe that it was gonna be like Solange had some like supernatural kind of powers. But when we got to the end, we realized like, this bitch really wasn't that fucking like powerful on some supernatural shit. She really was just like a pious ass old lady with some old ass racist ideals. She just shat on herself and she pissed on herself. That was her big one. That was her big one. She was incontinent. What? And I thought like it would have been more with her and the baby. Like the closest thing she had with that baby was them like waving that crossover and the baby started like getting silent. But I was like, where do we go from there? Like, does she take the baby and she try to dip the baby in some type of oil, or like, does she try to baptize the baby in the sink or something like that? And we find that like, she like put something on the baby. She put it like some sort of something. It was nothing. I feel like we should have got more development from Norman. He was spineless in the beginning. He was spineless in the middle. And I'm pretty sure towards the end, he was still as spineless as he was when we met him. Where did his redemption come in? Where did the little kid who was tormented by this woman that was made to sing Yes, Jesus Loves Me ad nauseum, made to watch insurmountable amounts of VeggieTales. And it was just random that like Belinda just kills her in the middle of the night and they just move. I don't know. I feel like even with that, it didn't even have to be something deep. I feel like you could have done that simply just with, while Belinda was holding the pillow down, maybe the door could have been cracked open. And because I'm like, clearly there's a lot of fucking commotion, so I know his ass ain't sleep. So he could have been right there at the door just looking, deadpan, like just watching. Just him standing in there and being complicit in this just by watching it happen and not saying anything. He didn't even have to touch her. He didn't even have to do the deed. But just standing there and watching that, I felt like it would have been some sort of redemption for his character, at least for his childhood self. I just feel like there was no development when it came to him. Belinda could have been developed a little bit more. Like, she didn't really snap for me. I thought this shit was about to be like some like her versus the old lady, like battle of wills. Like, I don't know, I thought the old lady was gonna be like jumping up, sticking to the ceiling and like turning into some sort of fucking like supernatural like witch or something. And then Belinda was gonna have to go through all these different trials and tribulations to save her house, to save her baby, to save her family. All in all, I would say I'll give the movie 1 thumb up. Or if we're doing stars, out of 5 stars, I would give it 3. I wouldn't go and watch it again because I feel like, again, I just feel like they could have done so much more. And it just didn't get there enough for me. But, you know, let me know what y'all think in the comments below if you would or would not watch this movie. If you have watched it, let me know what you think. If you agree, disagree with some of the things I said, and let me know your take overall. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what other movies, films that you would like me to review. And I'll see y'all next time. Peace.